Hello, everybody. This is John Salomon with Cyber Club London. I'm here today with Gour. He's the chief architect for Enso Security, I believe, one of our earlier portfolio investment companies. Enso is focused on application security, and we're going to have all of our videos in our portfolio showcase on our YouTube channel. This is designed to show off the companies a bit, what they do, why they're excellent, and I'll talk a little bit about CCL's filtering and selection process at the end of this video. But rather than talk about the group itself, I'd like to hand over to Chen, if you'd like to introduce yourself and start talking a little bit about Enso and what you do and why it's a great company.
Hey, I know. Thank you very much for having me, John. So I'm Chen. I live in Tel Aviv. I'm a co-founder and chief architect here at Enso Security. I'm coming from hands-on back on the application security. I spent a long time penetration testing and other assignments in this field. We can talk about this if you're interested. And then I also spent a few years developing applications myself. So I got the perspective of developers and trying to really, to see really what it means to build safe applications. It's not so easy as security folks might think sometimes. And then my last role before Enso was at Wix.com. I was there the sort of security architect for core and framework teams. A huge company, cutting-edge technology, very innovative, very, very agile, very dynamic. Super interesting position to try and help the core teams build better frameworks that security can scale with a secure by design approach, kind of. Super interesting. And from all that experience, together with my team members at Wix, so our current CEO was our team leader there at the application security, was the head of application security. And with another team member, we took many years of experience and decided that we have a unique approach and perspective on the problem space, and we want to build a company that will help other people benefit from the things that we've learned, basically.
Excellent. This is very, for me, it's very relevant because application security posture management is something that I dealt with quite a bit in one of my previous roles. So I ran a bunch of the AppSec functions at a large international bank. Mm-hmm. It is a very, very confusing field, and especially large corporations, but not only, very often don't really have a complete picture of what their estate even looks like.
Yeah.
Own what their exposure, their attack surfaces, and how, and once you start talking about how does it match your overall risk appetite, they don't even have the basic tools to understand why or whether it would do that. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about how Enso deals with this, what your solutions are, what your approach is.
So yeah, I think that to get back to just what you just said, security is not easy. Not cybersecurity and not any form of security. This is why, some attacks are successful still, even in fields where people have been preparing preparing defense for a very long time. Still, attacks are possible. It's not easy, and building software is not easy. So both things together, for us as people, for the founders of Enso, inspired a different kind of thinking. I think that we took a little bit from other scores of security to come by an approach that is a little bit more methodical in accomplishing safety or security. It's not that it's not in all the existing theory for application security, but it's a little bit neglected, and that's the point of having a proper application inventory. And this is kind of one of the founding stones of our approach for the product and for the company. Is that we are building an application security posture management solution that is core element, is an inventory that is flexible enough to map your problem space, your personal problem space as a user. It reaches out to collect information from your technology to describe what your teams are building, what kind of software elements you need to secure, and then it helps you with assigning the right controls and managing the full operations. You probably know what I'm talking about, managing the full operations of establishing the right controls over the right elements in the inventory, but with this basic fundamental step of security, which is knowing what you need to protect. If you don't know what you're protecting, you cannot really protect it. Our personally, our approach was always about building some utilities to collect the data and looking at the problem in a wide approach. Both me and our CTO are very technical people, and we enjoy coding. So we always attack every problem. Even my last pen testing assignments before I moved into software development were about more building tools to do the check instead of doing the check manually. Like, for example, I was tasked in a contract like maybe 5 years ago to test certificate pinning with dynamic CA concept and something like that. I couldn't see myself go one by one test each payload. I just built an automation that is checking all of it to see if when you switch certificates in different scenarios, you see different error coming from the servers, to just properly test it. And building up the right tool for the right job is actually something that was always our approach to this. And we recognized that the main tool that was missing was a proper inventory engine that will give you the right perspective on which you can start to build the controls information and the management flows that are required in this field. And a long speech, but yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you're the first person I ever talked to that has an oscilloscope and an axe on their background.
Yeah,
I think that speaks to the technical side.
Only one of them is real.
The inventory thing is actually a big one, I think, because one of the things that always gets me a good laugh when I talk at conferences or workshops is when I ask the crowd, you have a complete asset inventory, right? Whether data or application or infrastructure, and everybody just laughs. So. Yeah. There are tools out there that do asset inventory or application inventory, but you also combine that with, testing orchestration. You do linkage to risk or even compliance controls. Mm-hmm. And what I find really interesting is SBOM, software bill of materials, was a big buzzword that started coming up mainly last year. Mm-hmm. But especially given the fact that many organizations, no matter their size, don't yet even have that grip on their inventory. How can they even start thinking about, the complexities of building an application, whether in-house or as part of their overall software supply chain? And you guys bring all of these aspects together and allow, an organization to do a kind of holistic, not only inventorying and testing, but also classification and mapping to risk controls, which I find really interesting. I think that's one of the reasons why we selected you guys. How did you go about? I mean, these are all related aspects, but weirdly, not a lot of, if any, companies otherwise have thought about combining concepts of inventory and risk management and SBOM. How did you go about kind of coming up with this holistic approach?
Yeah, so I think that as we dig into the problem, we had a very clear approach from the very beginning on what kind of things we see in the inventory. And the reason it was easy for us was because we knew what we were doing before as a team that was protecting a large application, very proliferated in a very dynamic organization. And we were very familiar with so if you think about it as a defense metrics, maybe, you have the type of assets and then the things that you need to do, and then ask yourself, did I do this? And did I do that? And did I do this? If you look at something, you can use a metrics like a NIST maybe. And then to build up this was quite straightforward. After you have this table that shows you the list of the assets, the next natural question is, what kind of controls I have and where? And as you answer this question, the formula gives you a gap. If I don't have this and I should have this, here is a gap. And gap is the first point in your risk scoring, or it can be. And then we built on this approach to simplify the process of asking questions about risk, because at the moment it's very hard to lead a sustainable process in this. It's hard it's hard to come by the right questions. It's hard to collect the data, and it's hard to come up with answers. It's also hard to assess if you've been successful in reducing the risk in the strategy that you've chosen. But with us, what we have is a very simplified, concrete approach to this, asking questions like as if you were protecting, as if even you're not even if you're protecting if it's even security, if it's just safety, like think of a building, you want to map the problems, you know that you have to check the elevators once every 3 months. And if you didn't check, this is the problem. So first go about what are the controls that I should have? What kind of things I should be doing? This is your first gap. And then second layer of gap is if those controls are reporting some problems, you bring all of it together. It's a very, the magic of Enso is to bring all of it together. But once you've done this, it's almost a straightforward question. Where is my biggest gap? And then you just take the asset priority into account, and then you got your priority. Most important asset, biggest gap, this is where you need to act. That's very simple.
What I really like here is that you guys take multiple audiences into account, CISO, developer, etc. I strongly encourage, if this is a topic of interest to anyone, that they have a look at the Enso website. It's enso.security. It actually does a really, really good job, not only of showing the products and services, but actually defining a lot of the terminology, unifying a lot of the concepts. And we see a lot of companies that say dashboard. Dashboard is one of the kind of the buzzwords that we constantly see. You guys actually take this into consideration for multiple consumers, which I think is a really good approach. So I'd like to thank you very, very much for this. This
My pleasure.
A really, really nifty company. I'd encourage anybody to have a look at them. Very creative, very, very holistic approach to thinking about the problem and how to not only solve it, but also present it, and how to include contextual information, which for those of us who deal with, for example, the growing, list of EU cybersecurity regulation, NIS2, DORA, and others, as well as the constantly evolving and ever more complex application of risk management frameworks and lists of controls. This is a really kind of a useful approach that will act as a tremendous efficiency gain for anybody in that area. Quick word about CCL. We're approximately 70 CISOs and similarly experienced cybersecurity professionals from around the world. We choose very selectively and analyze companies based on the wisdom of the group. So there's a very, very strong selection process that goes into our investing in companies like Enso, and whatever comes out of the CCL mill is inevitably going to be of very high quality. And that's one reason. It's not really a marketing thing, but we actually really believe in these companies. We think they're good and valuable. So I want to thank you, Chen. I want to thank you very, very much for taking the time today. We look forward to seeing how you guys develop. We encourage your success and are keeping a very, very close eye on how you guys evolve. And thanks very much. Take care and talk to you.
Thank you.